What's up, everybody? Welcome back to another episode of the Cheeky Midweeky, where we are making strength and conditioning not boring anymore, and we do that by highlighting the practitioners that make this the best field in athletics. Before we get into today's episode, please hit that subscribe button as if it has bothered you and you want to hurt it. Punch it, just hit that subscribe button, and if you leave a comment and a review, send it to service@strengthcoachnetwork.com, and we have a free prize that we would love to gift you with. Today's episode, I am joined by a coach that has worked in professional sport and is now working in the private setting. If you're looking at trying to get into the private strength and conditioning from the team sport setting, this episode is for you. Here at Strength Coach Network, we pride ourselves on giving you the best quality information from strength and conditioning coaches and practitioners that still work with or have worked with athletes. This is not theory. We are always about giving you practical information that you can apply day one the minute you're done listening to this. And you can check us out for a $1 trial in the link down below. Click that link and find out more about us. Vacations are meant for you to be outside doing things that you love and reconnecting with your family and your friends and recharging your battery. It is not meant for you to travel and listen to some coach talk in a conference hall and eat some food that you know really isn't the best thing that you want to be eating. Take back your vacations and do so with a Strength Coach Network annual membership. When you purchase an annual membership, you're going to get access to our course, Performance Coaching 101. In the subsequent years, it'll renew and you'll get access to 102 and 103. Each year, you're going to get access to 2 NSCA CEUs and 10 CSCCa CEUs. These CEUs will allow you to be able to learn from the comfort of your office. You'll be able to earn CEUs on your time rather than having to travel. Take back your vacation and be able to do this with a Strength Coach Network annual membership. Click the link down below for more information. Brother?
Great, man. We're doing the best we can each day. How are things with you?
You know what, man? Life is really good. Winding down dad mode where the kiddos were home. I actually talked about this with, Ron McKeefrey when I was on his show yesterday. And, the priority of things in my life is my relationship with God, my wife, my kids, and then work. And that doesn't mean that work's not important or that being a good strength coach or any of that is not important. It just means when I have my life in that order, I'm a better strength coach. So the kiddos are home right now, but they are going to be going back to school next Monday. So giddy up.
Nice.
Giddy up.
Nice. I'm happy to hear that, man. I feel like that's something that I've started to realize. I mean, I don't have a family I have a family, but I don't have a wife or kids yet.
Yeah.
But that's definitely something that over the years I've realized is, a big priority and something that, like you said, allows me to do what I want to do better at a higher capacity when I'm able to be around my people and eventually, make time for the people that I love.
Amen. So Costa connected us again. Shout out to you, Costa. I know you're listening to this. You and I have been exchanging emails and getting this getting this thing set up. Why don't you introduce yourself
Yes,
to everybody else? Because I'm familiar with who you are, and we're just gonna roll, bro.
Okay. Yeah. My name is Jeremy Lizama. I am a performance coach based out of LA. I have lived and I started my career in Miami. That's how Costa and I originally met. We met at the University of Miami going through grad school. While I was going to grad school. Yes,
I
sir.
just plugged y'all again on Ron's Ron's podcast where he talked about Costa, and he's like, yeah, I remember reaching out to him in Miami. I was like, bro, what Dr. B and that whole thing, like, so sorry to interrupt.
No, no worries at all. I actually, when I was doing my grad program, I was working with University of Miami football at the time. So basically, those years that I spent in the grad program, I spent as an intern there under
Cesar Castillo. Were you with him?
Cesar Castillo was one of the players there when I was there. Yeah.
That's insane.
Yeah. Yeah. We actually still keep in touch every now and then. I see himself on Instagram. I think he's with Washington right now, right?
Yeah, I filmed with him 2 or 3 weeks ago.
Yeah, he was one of the players.
Joe Alexander. Yeah, my buddy Joe Alexander, who was an intern at Miami, knew Caesar. They stayed in touch. He reached out to me, and so we talked about the whole LMT thing. So this episode will come out after that. If you want Caesar's, click the link down below. I'm gonna write myself a note to make sure we get that. But dude, just talk.
That's crazy.
That's how small. What are the chances?
Yeah. And actually, while Caesar was a player there, our head strength and conditioning coach was Gus Felder, and that's the head strength coach that I was under. And Ron McKeefrey actually went out there to spend the day with us, and I met him then. He probably doesn't remember me. I was just an intern there, but that's when I met him, and we kind of picked his brain, and he gave us a chance to kind of bring everything to the table and ask him questions, and he asked us questions as well, and it was good meeting him. And so, anyways, I spent a few years there, basically until I finished up grad school. And as I was finishing up grad school, I basically got a call from the Cardinals while I was wrapping up grad school, and that was the works of Dr. Biagioli, and also Coach Gus Felder. They had reached out to both of them. They had both put my name in, so they reached out to me as I was like pretty much testing out of grad school. It was like I remember during my last exam, I got the call while I was taking the
Y'all had
exam.
the
I called them back.
comprehensive exam too? Like,
Yes, sir.
oh, bro, that was
Yeah.
clutch.
So we had that, and anyways, long story short, um, we interviewed, got the hiring process going, and then within a few weeks, I was out in the Dominican Republic as a strength
Oh,
coach for the Cardinals. Yeah, and spent some time with them. Spent a few years with them. I became the head strength coach for them out of their academy, the Latin American Academy.
good for like any sorry to interrupt, but like young
No
strength
worries.
coaches listening to this, listen to how willing he was to move. Like I had to move. Like you got to move to get your career started. Like sorry.
Yeah,
Sorry.
no, of course, I appreciate it. I appreciate the insight. And that was always my mentality. I mean, I was in the Marine Corps prior to this, so I was always willing to like, hey, I'll go wherever I need to do to like set up my future. But I think this kind of also relates to what we mentioned in the beginning was like, do it right now while you're young. You know what I mean? Do it while you're young before
Yes.
you have like family and kids. Because I knew that I've always known, and this was, I guess, part of the reason why I was looking ahead and kind of decided to get out of the Marine Corps was that I knew that I know that, I mean, I have mad respect to all the warriors that are still in the Marine Corps and deal with that kind of stuff because it's very, very tough, and I can
And
imagine
their
how tough it is.
families.
Exactly, especially on the wives and on the kids, especially probably even harder for them. But I always thought I was like, you know what? Like I want to raise a family one day, and I want to be there to take my kids to school. I want to be there with my wife and stuff. And that's not to say I couldn't necessarily do these things, but I just wanted to make sure that that was something that I could do at a higher capacity or as much as I wanted.
Yep.
So I was like, well, let me go wherever I need to go while I'm young, and work as many hours as I can. And I was like, I'll do that for as long as it takes until I can set myself up to like be able to raise a family. And like you were kind of saying, I I'm kind of still in that mode where like I'll do whatever it takes because I don't have a family. But I've also realized over the recent years that I also need to make some time for like setting myself for to have a family, and things like that because that also helps me out, helps me become a better coach and be able to do what I like to do at a higher capacity. So
Yeah, and like again, I said it to you before, but shout out to you for again putting your people always negate it, but like your service and putting yourself on the line. Like one of my wife's best friends from high school, we're all still close. Her husband is overseas in Syria right now, and like
mm,
just how difficult it is for her single parenting and having both their young boys at home, slightly younger than both my kids. Like that's
yeah,
why it's the things and the sacrifice. Like let's not negate that, and like you said, shout out to all of our service members for what they do with that.
definitely. Mad respect for them all. It's not easy, and I know that all the warriors that stay in and do 20 years plus, or even anything, any time at all. It's a tough one to be away from your family, tough one to be away from. I can only imagine, your kids, your wife, and
Yes.
and
I
it's
didn't
definitely
even
a
want to be away
sacrifice.
from my kids and family like in the morning and the evening. You know what I mean?
Yeah, yeah,
Like this whole notion of like, all right, hey, like strength coaches, we don't have to be there 24/7, but like when you're away and you're overseas, like you're at your job 24/7. Period.
hmm yeah.
What it was your biggest aha moment? So, you're young and like you said, now you're in charge with the Cardinal. Like what
Well, I'm not with the
was
Cardinals anymore. I
no,
was.
no, no. When?
Oh,
That's
okay,
what I
okay.
meant. Like, yeah,
Sorry.
like when you were in that moment. So I'm trying to go back in time there for our younger strength coaches because there's lots of openings for these kind of like there's a head strength coach job in Virginia right now. The pay's super low, but there's free housing, free food, so that's why the salary's kind of low. There's 401k match from the university, but like your actual salary is low, but you're going to get um your salary is low, the amount of money they'll pay you each month, but you're not going to have a lot of expenses. And I'm teeing all this up to say we're going to have some young coaches that are in director positions that have the ability to make decisions. What can they learn from you when you were put in that position, kind of fresh, like you said,
Yeah.
finishing up a lot of things?
Well, to be honest, I didn't get hired on as the head strength coach.
TeamBuildr has been my trusted source for online software programs for my athletes since 2019. Since then, they've continued to grow. They have this new practice integration where practice planning can integrate with the sport coach. You have your sports science, your AMS, the questionnaires. They've continued to evolve and keep giving you the things that you need. It has made my life easier as a strength coach. I want the same for you. You do not need to keep printing on lift cards. Please, printing on lift cards in Excel, you don't need to do that. If you need help being able to purchase it, they have a pre-written grant on their website. They're also part owners in the Plyomat with Coach Rich Burnett. So if you need to get a good device that can accurately and validly and quickly get your jump height and ground contact time, so now you can get RSI, Plyomat's a great choice. We utilize that at Goldfinch. Check TeamBuildr. Check them out in the link down below. Please stop printing on lift cards. It's going to make your life easier. It's going to make your athlete's life easier. It's easier to program on the back end. Check out TeamBuildr in the link down below.
I didn't get hired on as the director of Latin American Academy or anything like that. I got hired on. Honestly, the biggest appealing factor to them was that I spoke Spanish and that I was a strength coach. That was the biggest. They didn't know really much about me except for the fact, I mean, the things that I'm sure Dr. Biagioli and Coach Gus Felder, had mentioned to them. Aside from that, we had a few conversations, and they wanted to bring me on board and kind of give me a shot. And that's all I felt like I needed. I was like, dude, give me a shot, and I will show you who I am and what I can bring to the table. So, and that's always been like a belief of me, like, why not me? Like, why can't I do this? So I didn't go there with the intention of, hey, I'm gonna go take over the program. I went there with the intention of being, I'm gonna be the best asset that this program has ever had to the best of my ability. So I went there, and I was just, when I first got there, I was one of three strength coaches down there in the academy. And I was the freshest one. And another thing, it was my first time working in baseball. I never played baseball. This is like, I was always a football guy or basically any other sport that I played, but I never played baseball. So this was brand new to me. So now I'm like, I got to learn the sport. I got to learn the culture, baseball culture and all that. So I'm like, let me get out there and just do my best. And that's exactly what I did. I just tried to do my best over there. And then within a few months, I was grateful and blessed to be promoted to that title of the head strength coach. So now I had these other two strength coaches in support of the program that the director of performance out of the whole organization said, hey, you know what? I'm going to trust you to take the reins and you just keep us updated on what you want to do over there because we have such a big population. We had a lot of the times over 100 players at a time. We had about three teams there, throughout the seasons.
Yeah.
So they gave me the opportunity to kind of see what worked with the program of guys. And what my biggest thing was like, hit the ground running, create a culture that hit the ground running, create a culture that these boys like want to get better because they're young. A lot of these boys sign at like 16, super young. So these are like high school age players.
Yeah, you're nurturing them. Like you're guiding and you're somebody that's pouring into their life, not even just weight room wise.
Yeah, and I think I'm young, so I spent day and night, and we worked. Our days were normally in season Monday through Saturday, and then we have Sunday off. But I basically worked, and this isn't to say like I don't want this to be misconstrued and think like, hey, work every single day because that's
No.
the only solution. That's not what I mean, but that was what I was willing to do because now it became my program. This was my baby. This was something that I was starting from the ground up. So Monday through Saturday, we did our normal duties. I'd stay, and this is another thing that the players saw how much I was dedicated to the program and how much I wanted them to get better because I'd be. And again, this isn't like a just show thing. This is just like I needed to get there early so I can get my lift in, so I can be good and be able to coach, and then be set up for the program, all the activities that we have for the day, and then when we get done, I circle back with my coaches, talk about what happened, what can we do for tomorrow, what's the plan for tomorrow, and then if there's anything we had to do to set up for tomorrow, we stay back and do that. So we'd be there a long time, to be honest. And it was my first time being a head strength coach, so I probably held them there longer than I should have. But the job needed to get done, and I wanted to make sure that this was the best program that the Cardinals have ever seen down there. So, and I strongly believe that we did a decent job. We did a good job out there, and we revamped the whole program to where to where we build a culture that now these players are like these players want to get better, and if they when they slip up, they're held accountable, which I felt like at the time there wasn't really much of that. So putting the time, putting the effort into it, and just being open-minded. And then once I was blessed with the opportunity to essentially take over, I just ran with it, and then just like I took it. That was like something that I took really, I guess, took to heart, and was like, well, this is my baby now, so I want to do whatever I can to make this the best thing that is out there. So whether that was time, whether that was thinking outside the box, whether that was picking the brain of other coaches stateside, or even down in the Dominican, and then learning baseball too, was all things that I was like, well, let me do whatever it takes. And I never really had like, hey, I want to necessarily move up and go to the big leagues. Like that was, to be honest, like that was a dream of a lot of the strength coaches that were in the baseball side. But to me, that wasn't it wasn't like I knew that wasn't my end all be all.
Yeah.
I knew that it would have been nice, but I also love what I was doing down there because of how big of an impact I saw within even like the first 6 months with these players. Because there was a lot of pushback at first because they weren't used to like someone being like hard on them and telling them like, hey, if you don't do this, then you got to do this. Or they were kind of like, I think they were kind of used to like, hey, well, I can be late. I can be a couple minutes late and like, and show up
Well,
and not
because you
give it
can be
100%.
late in the world, like no one cares. Like
Yeah.
outside of sports and like go to the doctor, go to the like what you know what I mean. Like it's never a
Yeah.
big deal. No, you know.
Yeah. So I think I don't know, I probably went on a couple tangents there, but I think to answer your question, just being open-minded. Like being open-minded, and whatever whatever position, whatever opportunity was given to me. It wasn't necessarily that I was like, hey, I need to take over the program. It was more like, I'm given this opportunity. Let me give that opportunity the best shot I can. And then the opportunities just started coming, if that makes sense.
Yeah, it does. And so, like I said to our younger strength coaches, like he took like so put into a new leadership role at a young age, and then went out and kind of worked and did the exact things that you're like, hey, I know I'm going to make sure that I can get things done because we're going to cross off all of our T's, we're going to dot all of our I's. It's going to be uncomfortable early, but it'll be comfortable later because we did the things that we needed to do. And I can relate to that because the things that we used to do at Iowa and how psychotically obsessive we'd get there at 4 a.m. for a 6 o'clock lift. Now
Hmm.
that's because we had the speed work set up, the lift set up, the conditioning setup was insane that we had to do. But I get that. And I'm just saying all this now for our younger strength coaches to listen, like you got to put in the work, regardless of if it's strength conditioning, you want to be a plumber, you want to be a store manager, whatever you want to do, you got to put in the time. It's not just this, unless you're born on third base and people just give you money and you don't have to actually work. You're going to have to work and get the thing done. Like there's no two ways around it.
Yeah. And if I could just add a little 2 cents on there, that's a great point because to me, I was like, dude, I don't care what they pay me at first. I was like, just give me the opportunity. I know I've kind of, I think the Marine Corps also helped that I've been able to get by with the minimal. So I knew that whatever I went into it like, just give me the opportunity, pay me whatever you feel I'm worth at the time because you don't know me yet,
Yeah.
and I'll make it work.
Ooh,
I'll make it work. I'll live at the academy if I need to, and I did in the beginning, but I'll
where'd
make
you
it
sleep?
work. In the beginning, I was at the academy, like pretty much down the hall from, or right outside, on part of the same building as the boys, as the
Yeah.
players. And then after that, they moved myself and another coach just off the academy, which was like probably like a 2-3 minute drive at one of the nearby hotels that we stayed at. But but the pay wasn't anything great. But like you were saying, they I didn't pay for housing.
Hawken Dynamics is my preferred choice for force plates and for handheld dynamometers. Made in the USA up in Maine, I have been using them since 2020 when I was at Towson University. Still use them at Goldfinch today, and I brought the plates to the high school that I've trained at. We will use the plates and transport them when we train athletes at the many different high schools that we currently work at. As I said, they are a handheld dynamometer as well with the True Strength. You can assess athlete internal, external rotation, hip, AB, adduction, calf strength, hip, whatever you you want to assess, you can do with the True Strength. It also has the ability to pair with the difference striking machine. So now you can see single strike, multiple strike. Check out Hawk Dynamics down in the link down below.
They offered to pay for like my phone bill. I didn't have to worry about gas or any of these things. I mean, I wasn't really going anywhere, but I didn't have to worry about any bills. So I was in the middle of DR and kind of like, and which was also a benefit of mine because I was like, I had no distractions. It was go to work, work out, come back and work on it if I want to, or just get some rest and then do it again the next day and the next day. I didn't have any distractions and yeah, I mean, that's not easy either, but I knew there was a means to an it was a means to an end, and I was happy to do it because again, like it's not like I was hungry to how do I say it? Like I wasn't hungry to be distracted by these other things. I was distracted by trying to bring a great product to the program. And then actually after when it came time to renegotiating or for my second contract, they talked to me about like a certain number, which was a good increase. And I told them, I'll be happy to do that. But they were very open and the Cardinals treated me great. They were a great program to be with. I enjoyed my time there. So we separated on great terms. Um, and I just want to preface what I'm about to say with that because when it came to our first contract negotiation, they said, "Hey, this is a number like we want to give you. Like, what do you think?" And I was like, I really appreciate that, and I will take that. But this is what I want to see next year. Like, this is what I would like to see next year. Not like demanding, but this is what I would kind of like to see moving forward. And they're like, "Well, hey, we appreciate it. That's great to know." And then when it came down to that second negotiation, they came back with even a higher number than that, than what they knew I was expecting. And
Wow.
yeah, and that was again, it wasn't like I think it was just a matter of like me just trusting what I was doing and making sure that this is the best thing that I can give them. So they were like, we will, we will match, like, we will give you what you want plus some for you to stay kind of thing. So I say that because like, I wasn't necessarily chasing the money, right? Like, I want to make sure that I build a career and all that too. We need money, but
Yeah.
I was focused on building the program. And like I said, the opportunities just kind of came. The money that they offered me kind of just came because of that. So
That's incredible. Any strike, like, I mean, the first thing I wrote down was like, A, give some tips on how to negotiate because most strength coaches don't know how to. And this is something that Costa has talked about and something that we shouldn't be ashamed of. Brett Bartholomew has talked about the financial side about it. How did you get the comfort level to do that? Because I feel like a lot, like, and I'm asking on behalf of a lot of our listeners because they typically don't negotiate and they just say, oh, okay, whatever is like given to me, I'll take. And because we do have that very humbleness. And yes, when you first come in, but balancing that, it's such a razor thin edge. Like you said, yes, we do need to be able to pay our bills and expenses go up. But at the same time, not overly only doing it for the paycheck. Like it's a razor thin line to make sure you're not falling into either ditch of just taking no amount of money versus only doing it for the money and then not actually providing a good job. Like I love your story about how you built it and we're like, yeah, just give me what I'm like. You don't know me, so you don't really know what my worth is. Love that. And selfishly, that's how I felt when I got hired at Maryland with College Park. But I would love for you to just talk about where you got comfortable and how to negotiate to give some help to the listeners out there because quite
yeah,
frankly, they need it, and myself too.
of course,
I love to learn this.
of course. Well, to be 100% honest, I wasn't comfortable with it. Like I wasn't. I My first thought process, I knew negotiations were coming. And this I was new to it. It was my first time having to do something like that, right? But I knew it was coming. And so who did I talk to? First person I bounced off, just like till this day, I still bounce a lot of things off of him, Dr. Biagioli. He's
Ah,
a guy that I reach out to a lot of the times. He's still, I consider, one of my mentors. And I reached out to him and I was like, hey, like, what do I do? What do you think I should do? And he's like, well, how much money do you think um, that you can, continue doing what you're doing and be happy with it? And I was like, well, I don't really have a number. Like, I don't really have like a number that I'm chasing.
I don't know.
And
I'm
he was
just
like, and he's like, well, you got to figure that out first. But, and then I was like, well, what if the number is like too high? Like, what if I'm thinking something like too high? And he's like, I'll never forget this. Like him and another strength coach. He's actually a professor at FIU now. He worked with directly with Dr. Biaggioli as well. His name is Dr. Trey Watson. But I talked to both of them. He was kind of like his right hand man, but I talked to both of them. They both told me the same thing. Like, dude, you remember who you are. Like, you remember who you are.
Powerlift has been my choice for strength and conditioning equipment ever since I got into the field. Right now, I still have their racks, I have their barbells, I have their bumpers, specialty bars, and we have the IMTP device at Goldfinch, and it's been great for us because it's allowed us to free up the rack where we used to have to do the IMTPs. Now we use that IMTP device, roll it around, we've created more space. You have to check them out. Doesn't matter if in your college, high school, pro, tactical, or private, they have the ability to make whatever customizations and whatever adjustments you need. I was a part of the weight room that was the 32 brand new rack facility at Iowa football. You see what they did for TCU football. Doesn't matter how big, how small, whatever your customizations are, Powerlift is number one in the exercise equipment space for a reason. Check them out in the link down below.
You know what you bring to the table. Like, don't be shy to ask like what you feel like you're worth. And if they say no, then they say no. You know what I mean? But remember who you are, remember who you've always been, remember why you're in the position to be able to do this in the first place, right? So they said, so ask for the number, and if they say no, then it's just a no. Then you just meet them wherever they're at. And I was like, great. I mean, I guess that kind of makes me feel a little bit better, but it still doesn't make me super confident about doing this. So, anyways, it was just a matter of just saying, hey, let me just do it. You know, like again, I wasn't comfortable with it, but I still talked to them about it, and I think it also helped that, you know, I knew that they were very supportive and they were very bought into what I was doing and what I wanted to continue doing with the program. So that also helped, and it was an open line of communication with like what does the future kind of look like with how things are going. Like this is after my first season, and so that helped too give me the confidence to know that. And then after the after first negotiation, it helped for you know further ones after that. But I think it's just like it's understanding. I think that especially if it's your first contract negotiation, I don't think you'll ever. I mean, you may feel comfortable, you may feel confident if you're super confident in your abilities. I think that'll help. I know that I was as well, but I don't. I mean, as strength coaches, I think generally speaking, a lot of us aren't really. We're not doing this for money. You know, if we wanted to do this for money, we'd be I don't know, probably doing like stocks or something like that. I don't know, but we're not doing this for money. We love what we do. We want to pay our bills as well, and yeah, we want to be comfortable doing it, but
Maybe take a family vacation once in a while. Like,
yeah.
not that much.
So
Like, we're not looking for much. Like, let's make sure let me keep these lights on. Let me keep some, like, get some new clothes, like, buy some food, get, like, maybe take a family trip once a year or something. You know what I mean? Like, nothing crazy.
yeah,
Like,
yeah. I think it comes down to that. Like, I don't think there's one simple strategy. I think you need to reflect on what you've done for the program and what you're willing to do for the program, and then decide on something that's reasonable within for you and for them, you know, uh, and then just do it, you know, whether it feels uncomfortable or not. If you are that much of an asset to the program, they're not going to look at you and be like, "Oh my God, like who is this guy?" You know, they're gonna listen to you. They're gonna listen to you and be like, "Hey, we hear what you we hear what you want, and if they can meet you there, they will. If they can't, then maybe they'll do that on the next negotiation as long as you do your job." And that's kind of what happened for me. Is like they offered me more than what I asked for.
now, before I wrote down culture, I wrote down accountability, and I want to talk about that later with you. But before we get into that, the question
Hmm.
that everybody's probably asking is like, well, then why did you leave? Like, what? Like, and I know you said you ended on good terms, and you're in
Yeah.
LA now. So let's talk about that transition before we get into the words culture and accountability. And I want to talk about leadership with you because obviously that's something very important to you and something that costs to talk about. So let's talk about that career transition before we get into these other things.
Okay. Yeah. That I guess the simplest way to put it is that I I knew I wanted more in a sense of like I loved what I do, and it my position there and what I was able to do for them was great. What I was able to do for the boys was great, but I wanted to be able to not be restricted. So it's two things. I wanted to not be able to be restricted to just baseball players and just these baseball players. I wanted to be able to do this at a higher capacity, and have the freedom to work. And they never said I couldn't work with anybody else, but just the simple fact that I had that role, all my time went to these boys, this program. So when it was an off season, when we're supposed to have off time, I was sitting in front of the computer trying to strategize what's going on for our next season or what's going on for our next program kind of thing. And which was great. That's exactly why things went well. But I also wanted to be able to open up my reach to be able to help more athletes. And then the other thing was, uh, I wanted to also give the business side a try so that I could also create my freedom for my future family in a sense of like we were talking about earlier. I want to be able to like say, hey, I'm gonna take I'm gonna take my kids. They're not gonna go to school today on a Friday. We're gonna go to Disneyland or something. You know what I mean?
Vitruve has been my choice for VBT for years now, not only because of the encoder and how well it works with the app, and you can film movements with the camera and get live variable feedback in real time if you so choose to on the app, but the fact of the amount of content they have been pushing out to help coaches better understand VBT. It's not only just to move the bar faster. You can be working on what's the appropriate load for high rep sets based off velocity loss. You can be looking at velocity loss threshold between sets, in between reps. VBT is not just moving the bar fast. It's moving the bar fast with heavy weights. It's not just moving lightweight fast. And Vitruve has been at the forefront educating coaches on VBT and how to do it the right way. Check them out in the link down below.
Like on a random Friday, or I want to be able to just spend the time with them that I want to whenever it is that I want to. And that's not where I currently am right now, but it's something I'm working on. Um, and and I left my family originally when I was 17 to go to the Marine Corps. And I came back when I first got out of the Marine Corps. I came back for about a year, and then I left again to Florida. So I was gone for quite some time. So that was another thing that was influencing. Like I wanted to build that freedom to be able to be around the people that I loved and spend more time with them. And also there was things going on during that time with my family that I felt like, hey, I want to be able to create opportunities for my family as well. Like, what if I can create something that eventually creates opportunities for my family to also make a living off of, you know? And that's something um, that's still in the back of my head. That's still something I'm working on, but that's something I would like to do as well. Is maybe I can create some opportunities so my family can also we can also be a team. We can all work on this, and everybody eats, kind of thing. You know what I mean? So I would say that those are the three main reasons. It wasn't anything that was like, hey, I don't like this anymore, because it was a tough, very tough decision, very, very tough decision. I had all the support from them. They were great, and I loved being there. And they told me like what their projections were for my career within the next couple of years as well. And I was like, this sounds bad. I mean, this sounds great. This sounds great.
Yeah.
But but if I don't give this a try, I'm always going to be like, well, what if I did? Like what if I gave it a try? What if I what if I made that jump when I did? And so I have no regrets. It's been super tough. It's been very, 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 very challenging, but yeah, I still love what I do, and yeah, I'm here now and I'm happy.
Let's talk about here now. So what does here now look like? Dive in to life in the West Coast.
So I actually just moved back out here last year, last March of last year. I was in Florida. So my last season with the Cardinals was 2019. And so I was like, well, I finished the year with them, do our camps until the end of the year, which was basically, I think it was November. And my plan was like, all right, hit the ground running in 2020. As soon as I'm great, I hit the ground running. I got
Yeah.
these plans because I have like I have some athletes that have been reaching out to me that I worked with while I was living in Miami. So I was like, let me, maybe some of these football players, maybe some of these other athletes that I worked with while I was
Yep.
living there going to grad school.
Yep.
And maybe that'll get my, foot on the ground and I can start creating opportunities because I was also working at 24 Hour Fitness while I was an intern and going to grad school. So I had a handful of people that I could, probably be like, hey, let me get started and get the momentum going as well. And so that was my plan. And then COVID hit. And COVID hit
That's why I was
and
laughing. I was not laughing at
yeah.
you. It was
No, I
like,
know.
yeah.
Well, actually before that, my sister convinced me. I talked about this with Costa. So before I made that transition, I talked to my sister and I told them what my decision was, and they were very supportive, thankfully. And my sister was like, Jeremy, why don't you go travel for a little bit? Like, why don't you travel for a little bit? You know how you are. When you start this, you're not gonna stop. You're not gonna give yourself time to travel a little bit. You've been working since as far as you can remember. So why don't you just take some time and travel? And I was like, you know what? Like maybe I will. So I did. I traveled basically until Trump said, hey, the borders are shut down and kind of the world just stopped. And then I finally came back, and then I spent my time in Florida pretty much from that time trying to trying to hook and jab a whole totally new side of constructing a business because now I'm trying to do virtual, trying to do online, which is I have no experience doing that. So I'm trying to figure that piece out. When things lifted up, I started trying to do more of the in-person stuff. And long story short, things were decent. Things were finally starting to go well. But by that point, I had already decided, hey, I'm in this for the long run. I'm going to do this for as long as it takes. This will work for me. This will work out. But at the same time, I've already been away from my family for so long. Why not do it next to them? Like I'm going to be here for as long as I can. I'm going to do this for as long as I can. But why not do it while I can be like, hey, let me go see my mom on a Friday or Saturday or something. Let me go hang out with my family, hang out with my niece. So that's when I decided to make my move over here. And then all the lessons that I learned while I was in Florida, all the trial and error, all the mistakes that I made, and this is all the business stuff, because I felt like I was very confident as a coach, but on the business side, I knew nothing. I was trying to figure things out, listening to other people talk and just trying to figure it out, right? So I learned a lot during that time frame, during those few years. And then when I finally made the decision to come here, I came here and I was like, all right, you got to hit the ground running. So first thing I did was like, all right, again, kind of like what we talked about a little bit ago. I was like, dude, I will work for free. I know that people don't know me out here. I will work for free. I reached out to a bunch of high schools, a bunch of colleges, a bunch of coaches, and introducing myself and trying to create some kind of opportunity so that I can display what I'm able to do for their program. And I I connected with one of the baseball coaches out here, and after that, started working with their he has a travel ball organization, and started working with them. From there, I met their athletes, their families. From there, I started being a little more consistent on Instagram. I started using it a little bit more effectively, and I started doing some promoting on there. And then my first summer, I did some more promoting to start my first summer of performance camps here. And I think that's what really gave me the boost here. That was a couple months after me being here. So I'm still working with the baseball teams. We wrap up our seasons. I'm rolling into my performance camps. Now I'm meeting families outside of the baseball organization. Um, so I met a good amount of families through that. From there, continued growing into the fall and spring and so forth. Now just wrapped up another summer of an even bigger size of performance camps. So now that's what I do. I pretty much I hold camps, seasonal camps every season, um, every season as well as like the breaks. So winter breaks, summer breaks, but also like when they're in school as well.
Dasher has completely changed the game for how I'm able to time my athletes, whether I'm doing ACL, max velo, or curvilinear running. Had the blues, had the blacks at Goldfinch. Now that I have the silvers, this has saved me so much time in setup, breakdown if I'm going from Ankeny to Huxley, or from Ankeny to the Nevada location, or Nevada to Huxley, like wherever I got to go time athletes, it has made my ability to go from one place to another so much easier with the silvers. Strength coaches that have to go from one field to the other, or from the field to the court, this will help you save time. Now, in the spirit of saving time, you also have the ability to have an API interaction with TeamBuilder, so now you can see all the data on the back end. Seeing data on the back end, Dasher has a free app, a player profile app, that'll allow athletes to see their data. Over 6,000 coaches and athletes have done so. And if you want more than just the timing gates, if you check them out in the link down below, they have solutions to help you out with vertical jump, broad jump, RSI, all that. Check them out in the link down below.
And then I also do the private training. So I'll normally train privates in the morning, and then in the afternoons I'll train a couple privates, and then I'll do some speed classes or some speed groups, and also some strength programs as well. And now I'm able to work with athletes of all sports and all ages, and that's what I do now. That's what I'm working on now. Continue building that, and yeah, keep continuing to work on that.
You looking to eventually own your own facility, or do you want to just continue to not have that? And I ask that because I feel like a lot of strength coaches, when they think private sector, like, oh, I want to own my own gym, and it's like, well, okay, when the bathroom, if it breaks, you're the one
Yeah.
fixing it, or like, marketing the stuff, like you said, like, all right, hey, understand how to use social media, understand how to market it, and do things and write good emails. Like, that's not
hmm
stuff that most people learn about until I put together the textbook that I wrote, because shout out to you, Corey Van Wyck, for getting me to write that textbook for Cognella. But like, that's not stuff that most people are willing to do. So is that something that you want to do, or you want to just like partner with somebody so you're not doing that stuff? I know that's what Mike Boyle did back in the day. What are you thinking?
hmm I'm open to partnering. I've been offered since I've been out here. Like I'm blessed that things have been going. Like honestly, I can almost say night and day difference from my time of starting business in Florida to like my short, almost a year and a half now here. And and honestly, to keep the answer simple, I would like to have my own facility. And I know that I don't know necessarily what it takes yet, but I would like to have my own facility. And one of the reasons for it currently is because I almost feel like that's something that's holding back my growth at this point. Because right now
Really?
I'm kind of driving to parks, from one park back to the strength studio, back to a park, back to another field, back to another baseball field, so I'm kind of all over the place. One, that means I have to rely on other people for time and space, for park space, studio space, all that. And then two, I don't want to say wasting time, but I'm using commute. And out here in LA, like the commute
Ooh,
is even worse.
ooh,
So
yeah.
that's time that I could be using to coach another session. You know what I mean? And an hour commute that takes me sometimes to go from one place to another, I could have been training another session. So if I were to have a facility to where I can hold the majority of these sessions, these group sessions, these private sessions, I think that I would also be able to grow, and I would also, and that's not to say that that's the only thing limiting me. But I think that's something that I'm considering at this point that I would definitely like to have sooner than later. Um, it doesn't have to be anything crazy. In LA, it's not going to be anything huge because the prices over here are crazy. But starting off, I think I definitely would like to. No, I know that I would definitely like to have my own facility of some size to be able to have most of my programs out of there. And I also would like to, like, my goal is to have, like, I want to be able to have these programs running out of the facility, but also be able to have other coaches that I can mentor and bring on staff, and then we can continue building this culture, and then we can feed off each other and continue creating this culture out here in LA of like helping young athletes like maximize what they feel like, not that they only can do, but what they feel like they're capable of doing, like on and off the field. And
Yeah,
I
and
think that
what what I was just looking at there was a buddy of mine, Frank Barone, who's been on the show before. Shout out to you, Frank, and shout out to Ryan Gallup out in the LA area. Both of them, if you want to look them up on Instagram, because Frank's doing stuff out of a place called Royden. Roydian. I don't pronounce words well, so please forgive me, Frank. And Gallup has his, and I cannot, I can't, I don't pronounce words well. So like it's bad. Ask my wife. Nag, Nago, Nako performance. So they have some private sector gyms out there. Maybe people you can get hooked up with. My buddy Kyle
Yeah.
Hashimoto, who we work together at UCLA. Like just a couple different things that people for you to look at into and
Thank you.
find ways to be able to just keep that thing going. You know what I mean? And like you said, if you're having to not just be in that one spot, you're right. Like now, instead of being able to train people back to back, you're wasting time here and there, and that's just sitting in traffic. You're not going to be as effective as you are
Hmm.
unless you get somebody to drive you, and then you could be working in the back seat like the Lincoln lawyer. Like,
Yeah. Yeah. So yeah, I would like to have my own facility sooner than later. And I think it's also to have our own hub. I also want it to be like a place where my athletes can come and like feel like they can come lift and work out, but also kind of like they can come hang out there if they want to, kind of thing, you know?
that's
Um,
what
I think
Dango
that's a
did
big
at
thing.
Jersey
What's
at
that? I'm
Freak
sorry.
Strength. That's what Mike Wadango did at in New Jersey at Freak Strength. Yeah.
Yeah, I feel like that's something out here. I mean, again, I've been gone for so long, so I can't really say that whether this is true or not, but from the little time that I've had out here, I feel like I haven't seen or heard of a place that's like that. And I feel like out here in LA, that's something that would be very beneficial for these young, these young teenagers, these young athletes out here to have a place where they can, come feel at home and get better too. You want to come lift, you want to come sprint, come do it. You want to come just hang out with your friends here for a bit and do all the above, then cool.
So you get this place, you get this facility, culture, accountability, leadership. These are going to be things that mom, dad, athletes, agents, they want to talk to you about. What does culture look like to you? What is the word accountability, leadership, like these kind of tried and true things? What do they mean to you?
A culture to me means it's kind of like to me I kind of resort it I think about when I think about culture I think about like a group, a tribe, right? I think about like what are the principles, what are the values that this tribe has? Like what are the things that they hold themselves accountable to? What do they believe in? What are the do's and the don'ts? And to me, culture, when it comes to that aspect, like for example, for our culture, it means or a culture that I try to nurture is doing the best you can, having a positive attitude, even when there's nothing to have a positive attitude about. Um, and then looking out for each other as well. Like when someone's not doing the best, or you haven't heard from someone, checking in on somebody, seeing how they're doing, whether they feel like whether they're MIA and you haven't heard from them, or they're just in front of you, you can noticeably see that they're not, not doing too well. Um, so I feel like it's a culture is where is where the group can feel like this is who we are. This is who we are. Because culture doesn't always mean like it's not always a positive thing, right? You can have like a negative culture too. So to me, culture is just like how you shape it, like how this group interacts and what standard do they hold themselves to. Like, and to me, it's like, strive to be the best we can, even when things seem like you can't be that person, you can't be that greatest person, but try your best that day. And whatever, as long as we tried our best, we're gonna be happy with that. And continuing to show up, and being a good person. And that I know that being a good person is the definition of that. Being the definition of a good person is different from person to person, I'm sure. But I feel like we all have a very similar alignment of what a good person also feels like, and that's a big one for me. Just trying to be a good person, trying to give back. Um, you know, Something as simple as like saying good morning to random people on the street, because that you never know. You never know if that changes their day. You never know if they were having the crappiest day. You tell them good morning, you smile at them, they smile back, and they're like, dang, that could have shifted their day. It could have also just been a good morning, but hey, who knows?
How about the word accountability? How do you hold people accountable?
Accountable. So, accountability to me, it's when you sign up for something, there's certain expectations of you, right? there's expectations of you, and then there's also expectations that you hold of yourself. And to me, accountability is you have to live up to both of those. You live up to what you say you're holding yourself accountable for, and then also what that job, that title, that position requires of you. And when you don't, there's some kind of repercussion, whether that is, actual repercussion from someone that's above you, or repercussion um, that you decide to give yourself because of it. So, um, holding each other accountable, for example, in a team setting with the guys and girls that I work with, like when, for example, I coach something, a lot of times I'm coaching in groups. I don't catch everything, right? But I I try to harp like, hey, you do the right thing no matter who's watching, no matter if you're at home doing this or we're here together. And if one of your teammates calls you out for not doing it the right way, right? You don't get mad. You don't get mad at him for like snitching. You get mad. You, and it's natural for someone to get upset, but like, or for one of these boys and girls to get upset. But instead of being upset by it, think about like, hey, well, they're holding me accountable because they want me to get better. You know,
Yep.
they're looking out for me, because at the end of the day, if I shut up and just listen to them holding me accountable and fix whatever they want me to fix, at the end of this session, it made me that much better. Versus if I just said, hey, stop being annoying or whatever the case is, and just do the wrong thing for that whole hour.
Leadership, then. What does leadership look like to you?
Leadership, coming from the leader's perspective, in the simplest terms, is listening to your people and taking care of them, giving them the guidelines to succeed, wanting them to get better. But it comes down to that, like listening to them and taking care of them the best you can. You know, I feel like when you show that you care about people, when you care about those that you lead, and you are doing your best to guide them into the right direction, when they truly realize that, when they truly see that, they will follow you anywhere. And and if that you're not at that level yet, then you just keep doing your thing. Like keep doing your thing. But leading isn't about like telling people what to do. It's not about telling people what to do and what not to do. It's about giving them the guidelines, trusting that they're going to fail sometimes, but giving them that kind of love and security to be like, hey, all right, you messed up. I messed up when I did that the first time too, and I want the best for you. So let me give you some feedback. All right, let me give you some feedback and try to push you in the right direction. So,
What's been some of the best learning opportunities for you as a leader that you've looked back on, good or bad, and you're like, oh, I'm
oh
really proud of
well,
this, or I wish I would have done better on this.
um, I know I made a lot of mistakes as a young leader in the Marine Corps. I was under some great leadership and some leadership that I'm not so happy about. But I learned while I was in the Marine Corps, I learned that you can take a valuable lesson from every single person in this world, the good and the bad. You take the good from, the good leadership, you take the bad from the bad leadership. You implement the good and into your own leadership style, and then you take the bad and you're like, well, I'm gonna do my best to try to make sure I don't do this kind of thing. So examples like a specific example. Let's see. I know I've made a lot of mistakes. I just can't think of them right now. Um, uh, okay. Like I said, I've made a lot of mistakes. For example, in the Marine Corps, I was a young 19, 20-year-old in charge of other guys, sometimes older than me, younger than me. And, and I did my best to lead by example, but sometimes, I was a kid and I did dumb kid mistakes. And thankfully, um, my leadership still trusted me and kind of like gave me the repercussions that I needed to make sure I held myself accountable. They held me accountable, but still gave me that room to kind of be like, hey, you messed up, but don't dwell on it now. Like you still have an opportunity. So learn from it and then let's move on from it kind of thing.
The question that I think right now listeners are asking, like, wait a minute, all right, you've talked leadership, you've talked Costa, you have the service background. How come you're not going tactical? Like, well, why not? Especially over in California, where there is, there's San Diego, there's tons of different opportunities to be doing that.
Yeah.
Is that something in the foresight, or what are you thinking?
Uh, Two things. I will never close the door without knowing what's behind it. So yes, I'm open to it. And what do I think I'd like to work with tactical? Yes. To be honest, I'd like to work with anyone that wants to get after it, let's get after it. You know what I mean? Like if I could stretch myself out to like continue working with other populations that's going to be fun and helping them get better, I will. But I also love what I do right now, and I don't I'm not like dying to go work tactical. Do I think it'd be great? Do I think it'd be fun? Yes. I've also talked to Costa as well about a couple opportunities, but the for example, the baby that I'm working on right now, I'm not going to walk away from that. I'm not going to walk away from that after everything that I've been through these, 5 years now, and especially now when things are going better than I've ever dreamed of out here, and I'm able to still do what I'm doing, and love what I'm doing. So, yeah, I guess why not be tactical? It's just because I'm here where I am right now, and I'm happy to do what I'm doing. So I'm not looking for anything else necessarily. If the opportunities come, then again, I'm happy to have a conversation. But it'd be very hard for me to walk away from what I'm doing right now, to be honest.
This power in that stability and that happiness with what you're doing. The question then that I have for you, for our listeners who might be on the fence about things that they want to chase, like how can you give them a little bit of your conviction and your passion to chase and to get uncomfortable doing the thing that you're doing, where you know, you're out there and it's not maybe as quote unquote stable or whatever terminology people want to use, but it's a
Hmm.
different world than working for an organization. But like you said, you are loving what you're doing. You've got this thing that you're really passionate about. For our listeners out there that are maybe they've got the thing that they want to chase, but they're just so far, they're so scared of doing it. What do you say to them?
I was scared too. I'm still scared sometimes. I don't know what's gonna happen.
Right?
Like I don't know what's gonna happen tomorrow. I
Right?
don't know what's gonna happen in 6 months. But guess what? I'm gonna try, and I'm gonna fail too. Like no matter how far along we are in this game, you're gonna continue failing. You just wipe yourself off or dust yourself off and get up and keep trying. Because if this is really something you really wanted, like if deep down you know it's something you want and you want to give a try and you want to find out, the only way to truly find out is if you give it a try. And then if
Mm.
after you give it a try you realize, hey, this isn't for me, then that's okay too, you know? But you'll never know that unless you actually truly give it 100%. And you can't half-ass it either. You can't say, hey, I'm going to give it a try and then give it 50% and then, and then be like, okay, well, this isn't for me, because
Like,
then
oh,
you,
I put my toe in the water. It's like, but you didn't go swimming.
yeah. So I'd say, yeah, it's okay. I think that's where like a form of courage comes in. It's okay to feel what you feel, to feel that nervousness, to feel that scared of not knowing what's going to happen, that instability. But hey, man, there's a lot of benefit to it too. So if that's something that you feel like you're inclined to wanting to try, give it a try, especially while you're young. Like I feel like I'm still young enough to make these mistakes, and if I wanted to, and I think this is also kind of a a um a reason why I'm also confident and happy to do what I do, because I know that if I wanted to, I could go back to baseball. I can go get a job. I can go I can go get a job and do my best at whatever job, whatever team, whatever organization. I can go, prove myself to that again. I'm not scared of doing that. To me, and I don't hope this doesn't come off the wrong way, but I feel like that to me is that's it's not easy, but it's not as hard. I've realized like you can be a star, whatever, as long as you do all the right things and go above and beyond, right? So I feel like the opportunity is always going to be there. I know that people say, hey, there's no jobs and things like that. Well, hey, you create that opportunity.
Yeah,
You do the
there's tons
best.
of jobs. You look on
Yeah.
LinkedIn or even go to the forum and Inside Strength Coach Network. Like there are opportunities, and coaches are looking for assistants, GAs, ADs are looking for head strength coaches. There are opportunities.
I feel like just sometimes younger strength coaches might be a little bit picky off the jump, and I think that
Yeah,
that could be, I mean, I understand like if you absolutely can't see yourself doing a certain thing, I respect it. But you also got to be willing to put yourself in a position like we talked about earlier of like that's not where you're going to be at. Like let that create another
no,
opportunity for you. Let that create another opportunity for you if you need to get started, you got to get started somewhere. You're not going to get hired on. You might not get hired on as a even an assistant right off the bat. you know?
Yeah, but you never know what you could do good. Like it could be a win-win. You go take this kind of smaller level job. Anybody that's not watching on the YouTube and they heard I did air quotes because you might take this lower entry level job, but guess what? You crush it. Now you might have put such a good impression on that organization that they're able to put money into that position because they know the value that that position can bring. You're planting trees that you're not living under the shade in, but you're making the world a better place. Like,
Yeah.
I mean,
It
Brandon Davis when he was with Cody Hughes, and like it's just there have been so many opportunities and episodes that we've had on the podcast where coaches have done that. So don't be that jaded strength coach. Period.
yeah.
Don't
You never know what's going to come of it. Like the
never.
for those few years that I worked with the Cardinals, I also like the impact that I'm grateful to be able to have had on the players. I also made great relationships with a lot of the other coaches, a lot of the other coaches that are on staff that are now with other teams, that are now with other organizations, some not even in baseball anymore, but they have also seen my passion for this and what I can do and what I always aim to do. And they have called me like years later and been like, hey, like I know you're doing what you're doing, but would you consider coming back into baseball for X amount of money, taking this position, taking this leadership role now, like right off the jump, or asking me different opportunities like, hey, if this is something you want, like let's have a conversation. And these are all opportunities that never would have happened. I never would have met any of these people. These offers would have never been put on my table if I never would have taken the job of that, not knowing what this just a normal strength coach position, making a less amount of money, going to the DR, not knowing baseball. But if I never would have taken that position, then I wouldn't have met this. I wouldn't have met all these people, and these people wouldn't be reaching out to me years later saying, "Hey, we see what you're doing, but would you consider taking X position for X money? And if it's something you feel like you would want to have a conversation about, let's have a conversation about it," kind of thing. And honestly, that's another thing, another reason why I've also been like confident with like, damn dude, like they reach out to you years later, then you did something right, man. Like keep doing what you're doing. You're gonna make it. Like you obviously you obviously did something that people liked, and keep freaking doing it.
Amen. I don't think there's a better place to wrap up. I want to appreciate your time, respect the time. We've spent the better part of an hour together. Anybody that has listened this far and they're like, all right, I want to learn more about what Jeremy's doing. I want to follow you along your journey. Following on different social medias or whatnot. Where can everybody follow your journey?
Well, first of all, thank you, Dr. Lima. I appreciate you having me on board. Shout out to Costa also for connecting us. I really appreciate you having me. I've had a great time, in just this hour, and I hope we can continue to connect and continue to talk more. The social media, I'm motivated.j across all platforms. I'm pretty sure it's all platforms. I'm mainly active on Instagram. That's my main one because I've realized I'm trying to just handle what I can handle with everything. And I think that's the one I've been trying to be my best about being most consistent about. So that's the one I'm most active on, but across most platforms, I'm on motivated.j. I'm on LinkedIn as well. I honestly don't use it as much as I should, but
Okay.
Jeremy Lizama on LinkedIn as well. Again, I really appreciate you having me on, Dr. Lima.
Yeah, man, I'm gonna link it all down below. Appreciate you. This has been a blast to get to meet you. And like you said, yeah, like we've got each other's email address. I'm gonna give you my phone number after this. So I appreciate you, man. Have a great rest of your day.
Likewise. Thank you so much. Have a great one. Take care.
Yeah.
God bless.
Thanks for watching that video. If you enjoyed it, click right here for videos just like that, and make sure you click here to subscribe to our channel. Have a great rest of your day.